All right. So I'm very thrilled to be here. I'm very thrilled to be in at the in-person event. I think it was like 18 months ago or something like that. I was presenting at an event in person. So I'm very thrilled. I think you are as well. So very much welcome. Everyone joining remotely as well. You're just as welcome. All right. So tasks. We're going to talk about tasks in Microsoft 365 today. And there are a few ways and options you can do this. And keeping track of them all is almost like a task of its own, kind of catch 22 moment, right? So what I'm gonna do and talk about today is kind of like a high level overview of all the tasks and options you have and how they're connected and kind of integrated into each other as well. All right, let's do this. Are you up for the task, so to speak? All right, just a quick introduction of myself. My name is Adam Deltinger. I'm working as a senior IT consultant at Atea in Malmö, Sweden. I'm also a Microsoft Apps and Services MVP since 3 years back, mostly focusing on productivity, the productivity tools and services within Microsoft 365. And feel free to connect with me, LinkedIn or Twitter. I have other social media accounts as well. I'm a father of 3, so I have a TikTok account as well. Like you don't, right? But I prefer Twitter or LinkedIn. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me them after the session when there is a Q&A time. Hopefully, there will be enough time to answer all the questions. Otherwise, just social media or catch me outside. How about that? All right. Okay, tasks. We're going to talk about tasks. And as I already mentioned, there are a few ways, and you have options how to do this and work with tasks in Microsoft 365. But it's not as bad as it looks, because many of these services are connected and integrated into each other in one or many ways. So it's more a matter of personal preferences, where you like to work, where you are at the moment working, and so forth. And as you can see on the image here as well, it all points to Microsoft Teams, right? Because that's the way Microsoft is going right now. All roads leads to Microsoft Teams. So in the end, it's not that bad. And I'll kind of explain why. I'll show you some demos as well. Okay? And as well as you can see here, there are some characters down here. It's my personal perspective of, okay, these services, some of these services have different purposes, right? So if you're familiar with OneDrive and Teams or TeamSite, for example, you know that OneDrive, there's where you keep your personal files, okay? It's my files. I can share them to someone to collaborate or, I need some help or whatever, but it's my files, I own them. And it's the same when I put files in a team, it's our files, right? I don't have to share files because if you're a member of that team or a group, you can automatically access all the files in there. And I would say the same apply to, for example, Microsoft To Do and Microsoft Planner. Microsoft To Do is your personal tasks, okay? You create lists, in there you have your tasks. And you can share, even though the experience is not that great, but you can share your task lists. But I mean, I own them. It's my task in the end. And then you have Microsoft Planner. And a planner always belongs to a group in that sense, or most of you maybe have only worked with Microsoft Planner from a team's perspective, but it's still a team or a group. And if you're a member of that group, you can all access this planner and all the tasks. And then you use the assign feature to kind of assign a task to someone to be responsible for that certain task. But you're not sharing tasks from there or anything like that, because that's our tasks, and Microsoft To Do is my tasks. All right. So what I'm going to do now is briefly walk you through kind of each one of your alternatives when it comes to tasks in Microsoft 365. So Outlook tasks. Some of you may wonder, why do I even talk about Outlook tasks? And some of you, I would say, this is the best thing since sliced bread. It varies a lot. Some people use this extensively still, and some people never really used it. I haven't used it much myself, and it's going away. Okay, it's moving away and actually being replaced by Microsoft To Do. And it has already been so if you look at the Outlook on the web app. it utilizes Microsoft To Do instead of Outlook tasks. But still in the Outlook desktop clients, you can see Outlook tasks, okay? And I mean, it's great. You can create folders where you can keep your tasks. You can create start dates, due dates, reminders. You can create categories and categorize certain tasks and stuff like that. So it's you can do pretty much, and it's pretty advanced actually. But what it does also today, and which is a good thing, is that it integrates with Microsoft To Do. So it connects with Microsoft To Do. So when you're using Microsoft To Do or using Outlook on the web, and what I'm using this for today is more creating tasks out of an email. That's a very handy feature. So if I'm on the web, I can do that there using Outlook, Microsoft To Do. But if I'm using the Outlook desktop client, which I also do, I can then actually just create an Outlook task, and that will automatically sync to Microsoft To Do. Right, and it syncs quite a lot of information, like the information, due date, priority, progress, and even category. But Outlook tasks is kind of you can only create categories and filter by categories in Outlook tasks. You can't really do that in Microsoft To Do. There's a limitation there. All right, so talking about Outlook tasks, we quickly move over to Microsoft To Do. Okay, I already mentioned that Outlook on the web utilizes Microsoft To Do instead of Outlook tasks nowadays. And I also mentioned it's kind of replacing. It will replace the Outlook task in the desktop client as well. There's, as far as I know, no ETA for that, but it's being worked on. And kind of how this works, Microsoft To Do, is like you create task lists, right? So you create lists, and then you put tasks in there, and then you can put due dates, you can put reminders, you can do reoccurring tasks, for example. The categories will be synced over if you're using Outlook tasks. The categories will be synced over, and you can add categories, but they won't really add much value since you can't even filter on categories, right? So, as I said, that's a limitation. You can share a to-do list, but there's also a limitation about sharing is that if you're using a school or work account, you can only share to people within your own organization, right? You can, though, if not maybe you have a grocery shopping list or something like that, and you want to share that to your husband or wife. Unless they're working within the same organization as you do, you can't really share that to them. So what you can do here is basically, if you don't already have one, you create a personal Microsoft account, and then that comes with To Do as well. And from there, in a personal account, you can actually share to anyone. So you can use it that way. All right, what Microsoft To Do also does is that it integrates with Microsoft Teams. You saw my previous slide, everything kind of leads into Microsoft Teams. And there's the Teams Tasks app. To Do Task by To Do and Planner, I think it's called today. It will be renamed to Microsoft Tasks further on. So, okay, now we can use To Do in Teams as well. But it's kind of the same, but it just syncs over to that app in Teams. All right. Let's move on. And OneNote. Okay, why am I talking about OneNote? That's not a task application. I mean, technically it could be. I mean, you can do whatever kind of notes. It's a note-taking tool, and you can do whatever notes you want to in OneNote, right? You could technically create, a list of the checkboxes and tick everything off there as you go. But I mean, it's not a task management solution since you can set due dates, reminders, and stuff like that. But in the old kind of, I used to say the old OneNote application, the previously called OneNote 2016, which comes with the Office installation package and stuff, there is an option to actually create an Outlook task from any kind of note you have in your notebook, okay? So you have that possibility to do this, and I will actually show you this later on as well. This is not supported in the Windows 10 app version of OneNote, the one if you check on your computer, you usually have two versions, and it's not available in this version here, only in the kind of the old OneNote client. All right, so then we come to Microsoft Planner, and I already mentioned and talked a little bit about Microsoft Planner. I said this is kind of you use this together in a group of people or in a team if we were talking from a Microsoft Teams perspective. It's always connected to a group, Microsoft 365 group. So that means you can't really, if you're a member of that group, you can access this planner. So we're working together. We use this to kind of, what do we need to get done? What has been done and by whom and who is responsible for this and that? And then we get really nice kind of graphs to see what has been done and what's left and so forth. We have very good filtering options. We have grouping options and so forth as well. And here comes another kind of integration. Tasks that you have been assigned to or that you've marked as important will show up in Microsoft To Do. Okay, so now you have Planner going into To Do. You have the Outlook tasks that syncs to Do. So that would practically mean, okay, let's just use Microsoft To Do, right? And then we have the integrations in the Outlook clients, so we can flag emails or make emails a task. So it kind of makes it a little bit more sense. Then of course, when we have To Do, we have the planners. We also have that in the Teams task lab as well. So okay, let's just use Teams, right? Okay. I mean, there are some limitations. I will talk about that in the demo. Obviously, it wouldn't be fun otherwise. But let's move on to Microsoft Lists. Okay, I won't talk a lot about this because there's not enough time to do this, but I want to mention it. Microsoft Lists is kind of the SharePoint Lists 2.0, right? It's basically a SharePoint list that you now also can create. You can create your personal lists that are being stored in your OneDrive. But also, I mean, you can create them in SharePoint and you can have kind of your own and also from a Teams perspective that you can work. Microsoft List is not a task app per se, but you can do so much more with the list. Basically, it's like an Excel spreadsheet, for example, where you can create columns and you have rows and kind of like it's your own imagination what you do with it, what kind of columns you create and so forth. Microsoft List is basically exactly the same. You can even take an Excel, if you have an Excel spreadsheet you're using for project management or something like that, and import this into Microsoft Lists. And now you have it, and it's very nice, and it's a very kind of like modern tool in the sense of you have a mobile application for it. You can use it in the web app. There's a desktop client as well. There's a desktop client for Microsoft To Do as well, and the mobile client and stuff like that. For every one of these tools here I'm talking about now, Microsoft List and To Do, there are all kinds of clients. So you can have it in a modern way. You can access it remotely on the go and so forth. All right, so you can import an Excel and create a Microsoft List. And the key here, why I mention it, because there's so much extensibility here. Yes, if you just create a list on the go, you could create a column with a kind of people column where you then can add people. And then you can create a column called due date, and there you can add the due dates, right? But by default, they don't do anything. They don't give you reminders. But herein comes the extensibility with the Power Platform, right? So there's already built-in flows that you kind of remind me if the due date is tomorrow, for example. But then you can really easily from this list create a Power App that your user can use on your phone or yourself can use on your phone really easily to kind of customize this so to your liking. And you input certain values in that app. It gets back to this Microsoft List, and then you add Power Automate to this. Do whatever you do. In case this changes, this row changes, a new item is created. In case this due date is whatever, and this person is assigned, I want this to happen. So the power of Microsoft List is what you can do with it if the other ones aren't enough. Because Microsoft Planner is a very simple tool. It's a simple tool, and what you see is what you get. Right? So if the progress levels I can put into Microsoft Planner isn't enough for me, yes, sure, I can use labels and stuff like that, but I might want to use them for something else that is in Microsoft Planner. Then you can try use the Microsoft List because the limits, I wouldn't say endless, but almost. All right, so I mentioned Microsoft Lists as well. So, all right, let's sum this up. So as you see, it's not that complicated, right? As you can see here, Microsoft Planner syncs the task you've been assigned to, the import that's been marked as important, they sync to Microsoft To Do. So you have that there. When it comes to Outlook on the web, it's already integrated into Microsoft To Do, right? So you got that in Microsoft To Do. And when it comes to OneNote, you can, in the old old client of OneNote, you can mark some notes, making that to an Outlook task, and that will then sync to Outlook tasks, and then over to To-Do, right? And then in the end, as I told you before, it all ends with kind of Microsoft Teams, right? Because you have the Microsoft Teams Tasks app, where you can have your to-do and your also all of your planners, obviously, because the integration with Teams and Planner is really great. I mean, I rarely use Planner. It's a service of its own, but I rarely use it on its own. I use it from a Teams perspective. Okay. And then you have Microsoft List over here. It does not today connect with any of this, but it's on its own, but it kind of points into Team, because usually I work with lists in Teams within Teams as well, all right? But it doesn't have to. You can use this on its own as well, all of these services. All right, so I'm gonna do a demo now. So I'm gonna stand over here, and hopefully this will work out. You never know with the demo goes, but let's see. All right, everyone can see? Yes, great. So I'm going to start up from the Outlook on the web perspective, right? So as you can see, if you look at the left-hand side here, where task usually would be, it's now Microsoft To-Do, right? So I can click this one. It would just open up a web browser and take me to the To-Do service, but I don't want that right now. I want to see if kind of the integration there is to Outlook. So if I go up over here, there, I can see also there is a To-Do icon. So I click there, and you can now see that I can actually add tasks directly in Outlook on the web. So let's see, I have a mail. I want to make a task. I can just mark a mail and drag it over to add as a task. As you can see here now, I can access my tasks from this. So I can actually work with Microsoft To-Do from within Outlook as well. So both ways, because here I can create tasks. If I look over here, you can see here, I can click, and then actually I have all my different task lists I've created previously. I can create a new task list from here though, so that's a limitation. But if I want to, I can choose a task list and drag over the email over there, and that task will be created within that list. I also have a folder in Microsoft To-Do called flagged emails, and all the emails I flag, if I just flag them, not to drag and drop, they will end up in that list, so to speak. And then I have My Day also. My Day is a feature in Microsoft To-Do. It's not a list by its own. It's more like what's there is living somewhere else in To-Do in another list. But it's basically, what do I want to do today? And I will show you this a little bit later on, how that works and how that looks. But you can choose to also drag and drop. If I want this task to be done today, I can drag it over. I can select My Day and drag this task over there. What it would end up in, it would end up in the default tasks folder in Microsoft To-Do then. But it will be visually available in my day view, so to speak. All right, I can also actually flag an email here, just because of the fun of it. All right, so I'll do that, and that should end up in the flagged emails folder in To-Do. So let's go back to my good old Outlook desktop client then, right? So if I look down here, I can now see that I'm using the old Outlook tasks. That's supposed to be a circle over there. So if I click that one, I can now see, as you can see, I see the to-do list we just saw from the Outlook on the web experience. So these actually belong in Microsoft To-Do. So I can see them here. And I can basically also, in Outlook tasks is called a new folder, but I can actually create a list here. It will transfer to a to-do list from Outlook. All right, and I click OK there. And as you can see here now, I dragged and dropped an email from the Outlook on the web experience, and it actually shows up now here under my default task folder where I actually put it. So it kind of syncs back to Outlook tasks, and you can see that now it syncs that way. And if I create more here, that will sync back to Microsoft To-Do and vice versa. All right, so I created a list here. I can see now the task that I created from the Outlook on the web via To-Do is now in my Outlook tasks as well. And I mean, Outlook tasks is a little bit more advanced. So if you're like a really hardcore Outlook tasks fan, you would be disappointed because you can do a lot here that you can't really do in To Do. Not many people do use it, but some might. And you can create columns, additional columns for tasks and such as well. All right, so we've seen that now. I'll actually come back to the desktop client in a little bit for another thing I'm going to mention. But let's go now to Do. So let's click here the left rail and click To Do. All right, so now we're in Microsoft To Do. And as I mentioned, there is a desktop client for this and a really good mobile client as well. And of course, the integration with Microsoft Teams, which I'll talk about as well. But as you can see here now, we have My Day. And My Day is kind of like, what do I want to do today? And the good, really great thing here is that Microsoft To Do comes with suggestions for my day based on different kinds of things. So I can click, I know I had already had it up, but I can click suggestions over here, and it can suggest things I might need to do, and also that seem important to do. So it uses some kind of artificial intelligence here, suggested based on keywords, on due dates, and reminders, and so forth. So I can just click plus button here. I can add password, that's very important. And I might see a task here that they say it seems to be important, but it's not. So I can click the down thumb button here, and it would learn from that. It's kind of like the focus inbox in Outlook as well. Like it kind of learns about with your behavior, what it's supposed to recommend or not. So it's a really good thing here, and you can sort by different things and so forth. But as you can see here, there are some smart lists, they're called, basically important. And as I told you, important is when you flag something important, obviously, in a to-do, but also the tasks you use in Microsoft Planner that are flagged important, they will also kind of get into this list as well. Same apply to planned. If it's a planned planner task you've been assigned to, it will end up here, as well as assigned to me, okay? Assigned to me can both be actually Microsoft Planner and Microsoft To Do. Because as I told you before, you can, if you look at the list I have down here, shopping list, which there's a two figurines there, it means that it's shared. So I can actually share a list. There are the limitation I mentioned though, just keep that in mind. But when you've done that, you also get the field assigned to, and then you can assign to the person you shared it with or actually yourself. And if you assign it to yourself, in that case, it will also end up in assigned to me list above. But as you can see, I can add anything to my day if I want to. I can add reminders, due dates. I can do reoccurring tasks as well, and I can customize that to be reoccurring the exact days I want it to be. And I can also pick a category here. And they, as I mentioned, they will be synchronized with Outlook tasks, but really they don't do much sense because, as I say, I can't really sort them on categories. I can just see what kind of category they are. If I want to do it from to-do perspective, I can mark something and they will be synced back to Outlook tasks if I want to use that, but I don't see a huge reason for that. And also I can attach files to to-do tasks as well. All right, so let's go to flagged emails. And here you see the email I flagged in Outlook, okay? All right, and if you go to tasks, there's my task I was drag and dropping from Outlook on the web. I could have, so it syncs, so we can see now it syncs from Outlook in whatever Outlook you are in into Microsoft To Do, as well as the planners. And I will talk about Planner in just a little while. And you can see here now you can open this email directly in Outlook because it's attached to an email in then, and it keeps that link. And I can add some due dates, remind me, or add to my day. I can also have checklists in Microsoft To Do, so I can do subtasks as well. And those will be synchronized as well. All right, so what I also can do is I have these lists here. I can do groupings of lists. I can create groups. So for example, here I created two groups, one personal and one work. In the work group, I have my work stuff, my work lists. And in my personal, I have the personal group, I have my personal lists, like, comes first here, for example. All right, that was Microsoft To Do. So let's see now if we go over to Microsoft Planner. And as I already mentioned, I kind of explained the purpose of Microsoft Planner. Let's create some tasks together. Let's keep track of what we need to do, what has been done, and when, and so forth. And you have the Planner Hub, right? And as I say, I'm not usually in here. I work from a team's perspective, but you can work from here. You can create a new plan, and as I said, it's always connected to a Microsoft 365 group. If you go to the Planner Hub, you get an overview of all the planners you're a member of, and you can go to My Tasks. So a misconception I hear a lot is like, oh, I have this many teams and they all have planners and I have to, move around there to find kind of where am I what tasks do I need to get done, what am I assigned to and stuff like that. From here, for example, I have My Tasks. There's all the tasks you've been assigned to from all the planners you're a member of. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. And as well, you can see all the rest of the planners, and you can actually open up the whole planners over here. So if I click Our Planner, for example, you can see this is the whole plan, and I can work with this as normal. And let's say I have a task here. I can click that one, and I click Assign, and I assign myself to this task actually. All right. So I do that. And meanwhile, I'll just explain also. Tasks, Microsoft Planner is made up by buckets, and buckets are containers for tasks. So you put tasks in certain containers, and how you build your planner is up to you and your preferences and kind of what you need in this planner. But you have these buckets over here. You can create as many as you want. You can name them as the name you want, and you can move tasks between buckets as well and so forth. I can just do a test task over here. I can set the due date and so forth. But I can then go into this one, and you can see here, I can assign it. I can use labels. And there's 25 labels now. There were 9 before, and now there's 25 labels. You can rename whatever you want. So if you need something, you lack something that's already in the planner, you can kind of use labels, and you can have many labels per task as well. So I can just use that and put a label on a task. There's a progress. It's not started, in progress, completed. That's the built-in one. If you need more, you could use buckets for different progress steps. And then you can group by buckets, for example, and even filter and such. And there's a priority and the built-in ones there as well. And then in the end, if you need much more than this, you might look at Microsoft List, because there you can create whatever you want. All right, start date and due date. You have a notes section. You can add checklists here as well as attachments, and you have comments here. So usually this is enough, and this is a really good lightweight tool that's often enough when you want to kind of create tasks in the teams, like what do we need to do and stuff like that. And as well, there are the charts view, which you can get an overview of, okay, how many tasks do we have left and in what state are they, the number of tasks per bucket, and kind of how many do we have in each priority category and such. So this is a really neat one, and as well as a schedule view as well, where obviously this works with the start and due dates. And you can sync a Microsoft Planner to your Outlook as a calendar. It will be a subscription type calendar, but that works as well. All right, so I would just want to show you how you can group by bucket, assign to progress. For example, I can do progress over here, and you can see it groups this view according to the progress. So I get them and see this view instead. So it's a pretty good one, and there's a lot of filtering options as well you can use. So, all right, let's go back to do. All right, and assigned to me, because I just assigned myself a planner plan. And there it is, make coffee in tomorrow's meeting. So I can now use, work with this task. I can enter it, and I can work with the different steps that was in my planner. It's synchronized as well. I can change it, and actually it says open in Teams, not even in Microsoft Planner, because it's so kind of connected with Microsoft Planner. As I said, most people actually use Microsoft Planner in the perspective of Microsoft Teams. All right, so I see that being synced now as well. And if I just by curiosity, I go open up my Outlook, it should be no, this is a planner test. I can't really see that there, sorry. So all right, so we move over now to Microsoft Teams, right? And when we're talking about planner coming from there, you can see you can create a new plan by going into a channel, click add a tab, and then just choose the task by planner and to do, and from there you can create a planner plan, right? It's as easy as that, and that's connected to this team we're at. And then you obviously you get this as a tab, so you can see here now. This is the same one I just watched in Planner, so you can now work with this in Teams directly, the whole one, right? So it's nothing different here. It works just as well as in the Planner. There's some stuff missing. For example, the background here, you can't really you can't get a Planner background from within Teams. That's a little sad, but you can also see all the different views here as well. You can only get this from Microsoft Teams, a list view of this planner, right? All right, but then we have the Tasks app in Microsoft Teams. And this is where it all kind of ends up in. And as you see, it looks like Microsoft To Do, right? You get all the lists. You have your default tasks folder, you have the important one. So all my tasks marked that's important. I don't know what I did now. Let's see, it's reloading. All right, so all the tasks I marked as important will end up here, both from Planner and To Do, obviously. The same as planned, assigned to me as well. As you can see, the make copy one is there as well. And then I can actually also access all the lists I have here. I can create a new list or a plan. So if down here, I can just give a name. I'm not going to do it, but just going to show you here. Create in my tasks. What's that? That is Microsoft To Do. My tasks is Microsoft To Do. So here now I'm creating a new Microsoft To Do list. And if I want to create a Microsoft Planner plan, I just choose any team, because I said it's always connected to a team or a group. You just choose a team here where you want it to be created in. All right. I don't have to do that now, but what I can show you also is down here, you can see the planners. So you don't have to kind of jump around, go to the planner service by its own, the planner web app, and look at all your plans there and get your summary over there, or get to the whole plans over there, or search your teams and go into the tabs and the channels and the tabs for them as well. You can just basically see all your teams you're a member of and the corresponding planners that exist within those teams. So for example, my planner here, I get the list view by default. I can move over to the board view if I feel more familiarized with that. And I can work with this planner right here from within the Microsoft Teams Tasks app, okay? There is two things missing here from To Do. One is My Day. So if you like My Day, sorry, you would probably use the To Do app on your phone, or just use the To Do web app or desktop client instead, because it's not in Teams yet. And another thing is missing, flagged emails. It's not here. It's not here. So it's not getting transferred over to the Microsoft Tasks app from To Do. So if you really like flagging emails, the same thing as with My Day. But I have another little bit of advice for you. If you're using the Microsoft Outlook desktop app and really want to kind of, make a task out of make a to-do task out of an email message, you can basically, instead of flagging it, because that will end up in To-Do in flagged emails but not transferred to Teams, is basically just take an email, drag and drop it into the task icon. And then you can change some status here, start date or due date, because it's a due date's getting being synced to To-Do. But just in this case, I'm just going to save and close, right? So by drag and dropping, instead of flagging an email in the Outlook desktop client, we now create a task in the default tasks folder in Microsoft To Do. So if you look at Microsoft To Do real quick here, go over to, in this case, not flagged email, because we want to use this in the Teams perspective. It will end up here if I just do like this. It hasn't synced over yet. There you go. My analytics well-being edition, that was the mail I was just drag and dropping into this Outlook tasks folder. And as well, of course, if you go into Teams here, go to the Tasks app over here, we can now see also that if you go to the general task folder, it's been updated there as well. And then from here, I can actually also get a link to an email, get a link to the email in Outlook, and I can work with it, the due date and priority as well. Real quick here also, if I go into a Teams channel and see a conversation, you can actually also make a task out of a message or a chat. So go to a message in your team, click the ellipsis here on the message itself, more actions, and create a task. And from here, you can now see you can create in tasks. That is Microsoft To Do. And you can also choose any other to-do lists you have as well. As well, also, you can create it as a planner task as well. So you just choose the planner from this list, from this column as well. And you get as well a quick link to the actual Teams message in Teams as well. So you have that within the task. So I can just take me to the actual message. And you can just add task here as well, and it will end up in this case in Microsoft To Do. All right, so we're running out of time here a little bit, so I'm actually just gonna go over here and see. All right, so that was it. And just to summarize here now, I mean, there were a few different alternatives here, but it all ends up, as I said in the beginning, kind of your personal preference. I mean, Outlook Task is on its way out. If you're still using it, you can still use it to kind of sync to Microsoft To Do. Microsoft To Do is a great application. I recommend you to download the app and use that as it is. But if you're a Teams person, you can use the Tasks app to get all your to-do tasks, create new tasks. You can work with all your planner plans, as well as quickly see all the assigned tasks you've been assigned to in all of the planners you're a member of. As I told you, have a look at Microsoft List as well if you haven't, because I mean, you can do some pretty neat stuff. You can basically build your own like business solutions with the help of Microsoft List and the Power Platform. All right. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you. You know, when you were in Outlook online, you dragged it to the right-hand side to make a task out of it.
Yeah.
I really like that. Is that when you went into the desktop and then you dragged it to the bottom? Did that achieve the same thing, or did I miss the difference?
No. The thing is that in the desktop version, there is no kind of, it's still using Outlook tasks, right? So what people are used to, kind of like, there is no kind of clear view of, okay, drag this and make it a to-do task. And many doesn't think like you can drag and drop an email. So basically what people do and that they're used to is flagging emails. And that actually will be synced to Microsoft To Do. But if you're using Microsoft To Do from a Teams perspective, the flagged emails won't be synced over to Microsoft Teams. So in order to do this, you can actually, from the desktop client, drag and drop it to this Outlook task icon, and then it will create a task in the default tasks folder, hence show up in Teams as well.
Okay, gotcha. Also, if I can have a second question.
Yeah.
When you drag that email across,
yeah.
When you then look at the email, is there an indication on the email to show that you've made a task out of it? You know, so in your head, you can just forget about the email, right? Because you've got it covered off in your tasks. Is there an indication on that email that you've done that?
Oh, well, that's a really good question, actually. I don't think there is, to be fair. I don't think there is. I don't think there is an indication, and anyone can prove me wrong. I'm happy to. If I will actually look that up instantly after the session, and I can get back to you.
I think if you try and drop it twice, it will tell you it's already there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens if you delete the email? Does it tell you there's a task associated? Sorry, does it tell you there's a task associated, or would it do something to the task? What would happen if you just delete this email then?
That will say when you click the link, the task won't be deleted. Yeah. But if you click the link to the email, it will just say it does not exist. The email does not exist anymore.
Gotcha. I've had my share, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi there. If you assign a task to somebody who have never used any of these applications before, how are they alerted that they've got a task to do?
I mean, in order to assign a to-do task, you need to share the list.
Okay.
And when you share the list, they will get an email and so forth as well. So they will be kind of aware that they are, okay, now you're sharing this list with me, so to speak, right?
So the first step would be they'd get an email saying I've shared the list.
Yeah.
And then they would get another email saying that I've assigned a task to them.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. Thank you.
That was all the questions?
Anyone online wants to raise a hand?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Nope.
All right. So if you come up with any question or anything like that, just catch me outside, as I said, or just connect with me on social media. All right. Let's go over to my final slide. All right, so thank you very much for attending this session. Please rate the session in the event app. And as I already said a few times already, feel free to connect with me on Twitter or LinkedIn or TikTok if you prefer that. And as I also said, Sharon Weaver has a really great and more in-depth, I think, session about the actual how you work in teams in the perspective of Microsoft To Do and Planner as well. So this was more of a brief overview and how they're all kind of connected and integrated. So I really hope you have some more information how this all works. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Thank you.